I have memories that I can't forget no matter how hard I try, or rather, memories I don't want to forget. Looking back, it seems like a dream, but it was undoubtedly real. I had a wife whom I married when I was 25. I got a job at a male-dominated IT company right after graduation, and a friend introduced me to her, as I had no opportunities to meet someone. Her name was Emily. Emily, with her kind and encompassing nature, and I, impulsive and reckless, were complete opposites, which is probably why we were drawn to each other. After dating for 2 years, I proposed and we got married. Emily worked at a pet store with a shifting schedule, which didn't align well with my weekends off, but we managed to share household chores and initially got along well. However, after about 3 years, our relationship gradually deteriorated. As I progressed into my late 20s and gained more experience, I was increasingly entrusted with more responsible tasks at work. This was something I was very happy about, but I believe it also put a significant amount of stress on me, both mentally and physically. From the onset of our marriage, Emily was in charge of preparing meals and cleaning areas like the kitchen, living room, hallway, and entrance. I was responsible for cleaning the areas outside of the kitchen, including the bathroom. We would also take care of other chores as needed or whoever noticed them first. Of course, there were days when we were unable to complete our tasks, and we were flexible about it, but during this time, I found myself increasingly unable to keep up with my share of the chores. Then, one day, when I returned from work on the last train, Emily had just gotten home and spread some ready-made dishes on the table. "Is this dinner for tonight?" I asked, and Emily, looking apologetic, replied, "Yeah, sorry. I was tired and it got late today, so I bought these from the supermarket." She then heated my portion in the microwave, transferred it to a plate, and handed it to me. I had already eaten ready meals for lunch and was hoping for a proper meal at night. Lost in these thoughts, I wasn't paying attention to what Emily was saying. Then I interrupted her. "Could you run the bath?" Emily looked surprised and momentarily frozen. It was my task to run the bath, so her reaction was understandable. That's what I thought at the time. "I'm tired from working consecutive days. Could you do it for me?" Upon hearing this, Emily said okay and went to run the bath. This kind of situation continued day after day. I didn't know much about the busy season at the pet shop, but Emily seemed to be working harder than ever before, often getting home late and unable to prepare proper dinners. After about 2 weeks of this, I finally spoke up. "Lately, you've been slacking off a bit, haven't you?" That day, I got home around 10 p.m., earlier than usual, but Emily was lying on the sofa and hadn't prepared dinner. "Sorry, I got ready meals for today," she said apologetically, but my frustration didn't ease. "I'm busy too, you know. But if we don't do what we need to, we can't keep our life together. Let's try to do our part, all right?" Even though I said that, Emily only replied with "I'm sorry," and after that, she hardly ever prepared meals anymore. I started to feel increasingly irritated with Emily. Since my job got busier, I'd come home, eat, take a bath, and go straight to bed, resulting in minimal conversation, but by then, I hardly wanted to speak to her at all. "Welcome back. Listen, Emily," perhaps trying to reconcile, kept trying to talk to me, but I kept avoiding her by saying I'm tired. 2 months passed like this. It was ridiculous, living together as a couple yet avoiding each other. Looking back, I realized that maybe I was venting my work stress on Emily. That's why I felt I deserved the punishment that came. On a rainy day in summer, when I got home around 11 p.m., Emily was nowhere to be found. I wondered if she hadn't returned from work yet. With that thought, I didn't bother to look for Emily and simply collapsed into bed to sleep. It wasn't until the next morning that I noticed something was off. It was when the sunlight lit up the room. The room seemed unusually tidy. Curious, I opened a closet and found that all of Emily's clothes were gone. Checking other drawers, I saw that her makeup and other personal items were also completely removed. I went to the living room to check for a note, but there was nothing. Had she left because she was fed up with our constant arguing? Thinking this, I called Emily's cell phone. However, all I heard was a cold, automated voice saying, "This phone number is currently not in use." And just like that, my wife, Emily, had suddenly disappeared. I deeply regretted my recent behavior. Since I too had occasionally shirked my share of the chores due to being busy, I should have been understanding and said, "It happens to the best of us." I should have embraced Emily's attempts at reconciliation instead of pushing her away. I should have faced our issues together. It's true, you often only realize these things once you've lost them. But still, I thought, maybe she's just angry and will come back someday. When she does, I'll apologize properly. I was still naive at that point. A month passed since Emily disappeared. My busy work schedule finally slowed down, and I had more idle time than usual. This situation led to me spending more time than ever thinking about Emily, and I was haunted by the anxiety that she might not return. Then, in my mailbox, I found an envelope without a name on it. Since there was no stamp, it was clear that it had been delivered directly. After I got home, I opened the envelope to find something shocking inside. A divorce petition. For a moment, I thought it might be some kind of prank, but there was already Emily's signature on one side. It was unmistakably Emily's handwriting. I searched the envelope for anything else, but there was nothing. Why? How could this happen? My behavior had hurt Emily so much that she wanted a divorce. But I wished she had at least told me face to face. The idea that everything would end without any real communication, just with a single piece of paper, was unbearably frustrating. I had only visited Emily's family home once, far away, and didn't even remember the address or phone number. Seeing how the letter was delivered directly, without any chance of tracking through a postmark, it was clear that Emily didn't want to see me. The thought that I had driven away someone I once loved so deeply was incredibly painful. But there was no way to persuade her anymore. For months, I couldn't bring myself to sign the divorce papers, but when Emily didn't return even on our 5th wedding anniversary, I finally accepted her decision. I signed and submitted the divorce petition. I never thought that I would be back at this place where we had once happily submitted our marriage registration, only 5 years later. Tears naturally fell from my eyes. 3 years have passed since then. I still hadn't been able to give up on seeing Emily again, and have told mutual friends to let me know if they hear anything about her. I even visited her hometown in Nebraska, but still couldn't find where she was. During this time, I heard from a friend living in California that they had seen Emily. I thought she might not want to see my face anymore. I thought about it, but I knew I couldn't move on without seeing her and hearing her true feelings. And I desperately wanted the chance to apologize. If I became a burden, I decided I would leave immediately. With that in mind, I headed to California. Of course, it wasn't easy to find someone in a crowded city like California. I spent a whole day wandering around the station where my friend's friend had seen her. It feels like I'm stalking her. Just as I was coming to my senses, wondering if I should go back, feeling disheartened, a familiar face passed by right in front of me. She didn't seem to notice me, but it was definitely Emily. There was no mistaking it. Seeing Emily for the first time in 3 years, I almost broke down in tears, but I restrained myself, given the crowd. Emily seemed to be looking around for someone, and then her face lit up with joy. She found her mother and a little boy who ran up to her, exclaiming, "Mommy." The boy, hugging Emily, said cheerfully, "Grandma bought me a toy." "That's great. Did you say thank you?" Emily asked the boy with a gentle, maternal smile I hadn't seen before, lifting him up in her arms. Emily. Had she remarried? All this time, I had clung to the selfish hope of meeting her again, apologizing, and perhaps starting over. I had never imagined that Emily could have remarried and started a new life. Realizing this, I knew there was no point in meeting her. Why disturb her happiness by bringing up painful memories? There was no place for me in her life anymore. I remembered living with Emily but couldn't recall the last time I saw her smile like that. If she looked so happy now, I had to be glad for her. But part of me wished I had been the one to make her smile like that. No matter how much I regretted my past mistakes, I couldn't turn back time. As tears threatened to spill, I turned away from Emily and her family, heading toward the station restroom. That's when. May I have a moment with you? When I was called from behind and turned around, there stood Emily's mother. There was no sign of Emily or the little boy next to her, leaving me with a mix of relief and disappointment. "You are Nate, right?" she asked, recognizing me. "It's been a while," I replied. Emily's mother suggested we talk at a nearby cafe. As soon as we sat down, she apologized. "I'm sorry for what my daughter did 3 years ago." "No, I'm the one who should apologize for making Emily suffer," I said. I had so many questions. Why did Emily leave without a word? How is she living now? Was that boy really her child? But it felt intrusive to ask. Then Emily's mother asked, "Why are you here today?" But I couldn't immediately answer her question. I was worried that it might seem strange, even creepy, that I had come all the way to California to seek out Emily after we had separated 3 years ago. Yet, if I really wanted to see Emily, should I be honest about it? Once again, I found myself in a dilemma. Then, Emily's mother gently asked, "Did you come to see Emily?" Finally, I admitted, yes, I wanted to talk to her again, to apologize. Then, Emily's mother said something surprising. "Please, meet with Emily." Really, I thought for sure I would be rejected, thinking she had moved on to a new path in life. "But you need to do this, so you can both move forward," she said. Those words brought me both happiness and a twinge of pain. It felt as though she was saying she wanted her daughter to settle the past and find happiness in her new life. Eventually, Emily's mother said she would talk to Emily, and we arranged to meet at this cafe the next day at 2 p.m. I was happy to see Emily, whom I had longed to meet, but the thought that this might be the last time made me feel somewhat sad. The next day, as I waited at the promised place, Emily arrived. "It's been a while," she said, sitting down without looking at me. Maybe she really didn't want to see me. I knew that much since the moment she initiated the divorce. Determined not to have regrets, I decided to express my feelings. "Thank you for coming today. Since the divorce, no, since you left, I've been full of regret. I was so wrapped up in my own pain. I never tried to understand your feelings. I think that only made things harder for you. I'm truly, truly sorry. I've wanted to apologize for so long." I apologized to her. Wait, look at me. I'm the one who should apologize for leaving silently. I didn't have the courage to confront the situation. Emily then shared her feelings from that time. We both became busy with work, and I knew we were drifting apart. I was probably just as self-absorbed. I had expected Emily to be more angry, so her calm demeanor surprised me. But that meant this was all in the past for her. In Emily's mind, it was a closed chapter. I realized that I was the only one who saw great significance in this reunion. As I thought this, back then, I was feeling unwell. This was news to me. I mentioned it a few times, but you seemed so busy. You probably don't remember. True to her words, I didn't recall at all. So, I couldn't prepare meals properly, and I just felt so down, thinking you were fed up with me. Hearing this, I remembered how Emily often lay down, unable to cook meals every day. I'm sorry for not noticing. Are you okay now? Was it an illness? Caught up in my own work stress, I hadn't even noticed Emily's health issues. I was the worst husband. That's why she divorced me. It wasn't an illness, I was pregnant. It took a while for my brain to process her words. What? That was all I could muster, sounding foolishly surprised. It was your child, Emily said, tears welling up in her eyes. Really? Still shocked, I watched as Emily, tearfully, continued her story. When I felt something was wrong, I went to the hospital and found out I was pregnant. I was so happy. I thought maybe this could bring us back to how we used to be, that this child could be the angel to reconnect us. I wanted to tell you as soon as possible and tried many times, but we never seemed to have a moment to talk properly. It felt like all the puzzle pieces were falling into place. Emily's ill health and her attempts to talk to me were all because she was pregnant with my child. Then I started feeling very alone. I wondered if you would be happy about the child, if I could be a good mother. I got scared of everything and talked to my mom. Initially, I didn't intend to leave. I just planned to stay at my parents' house for a few days. But I became too afraid to talk things out with you. I ran away. I'm so sorry for keeping silent about something so important all this time. Emily apologized again. And the child? I asked nervously. It's a boy. He's 3 now and growing up healthy, she replied. Was he the one with you at the station yesterday? I think my voice was trembling. Yes, that's right, Emily replied. Upon hearing her words, tears uncontrollably started flowing from my eyes. The image of that child, who had clung to Emily calling her mommy, was still vivid in my mind. That was my child. Before I knew it, I was holding Emily's hand. And without being able to hold back, I said, "Thank you." Hearing that, Emily also started crying. I'm sorry for not realizing the pain you went through for our child and for behaving terribly. I was selfish, truly sorry. But I've always wanted to tell you this, if possible, if you can forgive me, I want to live with you again. I want to be the father of our child. Can you give me another chance? The wait for Emily's response felt incredibly long. But then, Emily squeezed my hand back and said, "That's my line. Thank you." Afterward, Emily took me to her cart home. Our son, Isaac, didn't act shy at all despite meeting me for the first time. "Dad, did you come from far away?" he asked, hugging me happily. Apparently, Emily had explained to Isaac, who had started to question why he didn't have a father like other families at kindergarten, that Dad is away on a long trip. Isaac even said, "Mom told me, Dad is kind and funny." Knowing that Emily and Isaac had kept my presence alive in their lives made me incredibly happy. Later, I returned to the headquarters and arranged to transfer to the California branch starting next spring. Until then, I would visit them by plane on weekends, but considering the 3 years we missed, it felt like a short wait. Soon, I believe, living a life with Emily and Isaac will feel normal again. But I will never forget that such an ordinary life is not something to take for granted. Having once fallen apart, I believe we are now bound by a stronger bond, and I start walking with my family again.